Today we're going to draw and color a simple polar bear portrait. You are going to get a small piece of paper and you want to draw your polar bear portrait as large as you can in this space. Now it's going to look like our polar bear is kind of peeking in on the page, so you can choose if you want your polar bear to be on the right side or on the left side. I'm going to go ahead and do mine more on the right side today. Now since we're just drawing the head, I'm going to draw sort of an oval shape. And I like to kind of make my oval almost a little bit more kind of squared off. It's like a rounded rectangle actually, is how I would describe it. And I'm drawing pretty dark on my paper, but you should not. You should draw lightly so you can erase. I'm just drawing dark so that you can see what I'm doing. Now the next step is we're going to draw some small polar bear ears. They're going to go kind of on the corners of our rounded rectangle. And they're really not very big. Polar bear ears are actually pretty small once you start looking at pictures. That might actually be a little too big. There we go. Now next we're going to work on the polar bear's face here in the center. Now to start, I'm going to draw his muzzle, is what it's called, like a nose-mouth area. And I'm just going to draw sort of a U, a large, wide U shape for a curved line here. Now in this U shape is going to be his nose and mouth. So for the nose, I'm going to draw sort of like a diamond shape. Or you could call it just a triangle. I'm calling it a diamond because I've trimmed off the little corners here to be a little bit more detailed. Okay, but it basically looks like a three-sided triangle. And then I'm going to draw a short line down from the nose to create the mouth. Just like that, with 3 lines. Now after you have the mouth done, you can draw 2 small eyes, and they basically just are right above our U shape here. You just kind of go straight up from each end of the U for the eyes. Now after you have drawn a polar bear portrait that you like, we're going to color it in with oil pastel. Now we're going to be using white and kind of some light grays, and these pastels are going to create the hairy texture of our polar bear. So instead of coloring in neatly for this project, I'm actually going to color in with kind of some zigzaggy lines like so. By using these zigzag lines, it's going to give my polar bear an implied texture that my bear is furry, like he would be in real life. And I can go kind of right up next to the eye, fill in the ears. I don't have to stay in the lines. It actually looks a little better if I make my edge a little zigzaggy. Kind of goes along with the implied texture. Right up next to the nose, right up next to the mouth. Just filling in almost all of the gray paper. It's okay if a little bit of the gray paper shows through because that kind of helps with your texture. Sometimes I like to use a light gray as well to add in a few extra lines that are just a little bit darker. They kind of show up on the white. Now I'm going to keep on going until my whole polar bear portrait is filled in with texture. Now when your polar bear is all colored in, you can add some details. I'm going to start with some gray and outline my mouth. Now I'm going to move to some black. Now black is a really dark color, so be careful with it because it's really going to show up strong. I'm going to use the black on my eyes. So I'm just tracing carefully over those little circles. And I'm leaving a little white highlight in the center for a shine on his eye. And do the second one carefully. Eyes are important, so you really want to go slowly on these shapes so that you can get it how you want. I'm also going to use black on the nose. So once again, just filling in the whole triangle area. And I'm also going to leave a little highlight on the nose. So I'm just going to color it all in except for one little spot in the middle area. Okay. Now I'm going to use just a tiny, tiny bit of black to make the mouth show up a little bit more. Kind of mix it in with that gray that I used. Maybe in his ears a little bit, the center part of his ear. And that's about all I'm going to use the black for. You really don't need that much black. I'm going to just blend in a little gray into my nose there, maybe on my eye, so that highlight's a little more blended. Now for the fun part. Since our polar bear is in a Northern Lights artwork, I'm going to choose some colors that sort of match my Northern Lights background. I have a light blue, a pink, maybe you have a little bit of green, and I'm going to use just a tiny bit of these colors in my polar bear to make it look like the light is reflecting off of his fur. So if I had blue in my Northern Lights, I'm just going to give a few quick little blue zigzags, like it's kind of highlighting on his fur. Same with the pink. Maybe we have a few little pink spots. Now it is very important that I don't go overboard with this step because otherwise it's going to look silly. But if you add just a little bit of these colors, it's a nice touch to your artwork. It's going to make it look realistic, like the light from the night sky is reflecting onto the objects around it, just like it really does. After you've added just a few touches of color, your polar bear is complete.